Hello everyone, welcome to PlayCanvas Office Hours, where we work through problems posted by the community. I'm Stephen Yao, otherwise known as Yas on the forums, and today we're looking at a project where they have some custom dialogue text come up. So this video will show what's going on. They've got this dialogue box where they've got typewriter text that goes across the box itself, but the second time they will run it, the text no longer renders or shows up. And ultimately, this one could be quite a long video because it's to do with code that is not about the engine, but more to be project specific. But because it's quite a nice way to look at the debugging tools of Chrome, I felt like it was a good candidate for a video of office hours. So let's reproduce the issue in a project. Let's not fork it first. Let's see if we can deal with it from this point on. So click on the main character and it goes to here. Okay, let's look again. This is text for the main character, scene 1, great, disappears and doesn't render. So we can reproduce the issue quite easily, which is quite nice. And now let's look at the code. So if I remember correctly, the code is in Dialog Manager. Dialog Manager, yes. Okay, let's look at the code here. Control P, Dialog Manager. Okay. So here we go. Initialize character clicked. So it has a interesting. So it has a global event that is cleared when the object's destroyed. That's good. So they're clearing up their events handlers when the object's destroyed, or when which also includes changing scenes. They've got changed text. Okay. So when the character's clicked on, they've got a function that calls change text. Ooh, interesting. So they've got a global, they may have done this accidentally, but they've got a global variable that finds the text bubble character name. Okay, yep. Let me see if that's an issue later. That's going to be interesting. And they go current scene 1, that's fine. The character name main dog, yep. This typewriter, they call function called typewriter with the character name, text, and new text. Okay, so what's new text? New text is this. Again, that's another global variable, so that's again quite interesting. Typewriter, blah blah. They call this function where the character name is not used because that's grey. They enabled the bubble entity. Okay. They give it the text in the element. Right, that's fine. They resize the text. They resize the sprite. There's a sprite on it. Let's see if we can take a look at that. Scene, sky. Where's the characters? Darken, UI menu, inventory. Maybe they add it to the thing. Anyway, so that's interesting. So I'm intrigued by this. Because I'm not aware they had a sprite. We might need to take a look at that at runtime, because potentially they could add a whole bunch of stuff on the scene at once. Bubble entity element start range. So we're adding new values to the element. So range start, range end. And we do a interval function. So render new character every 40 seconds. Add 1. Okay, so we go through the thing. And we change the height of the sprite based on this. Okay, I'm a little intrigued by this. Let me go to PlayCanvas. I think this is taken from the PlayCanvas engine example of typewriter, which I didn't write myself, so I want to take a look at this myself. UI, typewriter. Interval range. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, so there's some added code on top of this. So this sprite height thing is a bit interesting. We've got interval, blah blah. If it's more than the range, then they clear the interval, which is correct. Oh yeah, is it? If the end range is more than or equal to the new text dot length, so for every character, then clear the interval. They say range end, and they set a timeout to make the text bubble entity disappear. Okay, so there doesn't seem much wrong with that offhand. What I would like to do is probably put a few breakpoints in place on the launch window to see what's going on. So let's bring this up. So make sure it's still happening. Okay, so cursor click, main cursor, end range, 1 second delay, and it disappears. Okay. Ooh, so I'll print this. I want to have dialog manager. All right, let's get rid of all the console log. Okay, so let's see. Let's put a few breakpoints here. Where do I want the breakpoint? All right, let's check if we get the text. Let's check if we get the right text first. That's probably the most important thing. So we click on it. This is main character 1. That's fine. So range start, range end. Okay. Wonder the actual. I'm quite curious whether that's a API that we have. Let's take a look. Elements, component. Do we have a range? Oh, okay, range start. Ah, interesting. So we've got index was first character to render and last character to render. Okay, so let's take a look at this then. Oops, not wrong. So, check the sprite width height, 220, okay, that seems reasonable. Okay, so what we're going to do here is put a breakpoint in here and see if that gets called. +1, so it should be 1. Okay. Interesting. Why is that happening? Is this on the right one? Text bubble main character. Right, yeah, that makes sense. And the text on this is correct. I don't know if we think this might be an engine bug now. Okay, and it hits the clear interval. Okay. This is tricky. I don't have a good answer for this. Okay. What I might try to do is put this code into a new project and see if I can replicate the issue. So let's try that and see how far we get. Maybe just disable that. Run. Because it's weird that doesn't show up. And I'm wondering if that's either due to our text component or if there's something else going on, such as potentially the height of the text. I'm a bit worried about effectively these bits because they make no sense to me. Yeah, I think these are the most questionable bits where it's using sprite. We're changing the sprite hit and sprite height. So let's try that. Let's see if that's the reason why. So what I'm going to do is fault project first. Fault project text. Where's it got? And then if we can't identify what the issue is from the fork, then we will effectively just rip out the code and try in a new project. So first of all, let's check we can reproduce this. Text from main character. Yeah. Blank, 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 blank. There's text from main character, scene 1, and blank. Okay, so we can reproduce it. So first of all, let's get rid of all the things that maybe go. Let me question stuff. Var. New text var. So first, let me get rid of all the global variables. They worry me somewhat. Never good to have globals. This is not global. And let me get rid of the heights change, because again, that's a bit odd. All right, let's see what happens now. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Oh, here we go. So that's interesting. Looks like it's rendering behind. I don't know what to call it. Behind the bubble. Okay. Oh, I wonder what's happening there. Is it like is it an order thing? Where's this text bubble entity coming from? Find my name, text bubble. Okay, so element.text. How can I have the image element? Okay, I'm gonna need to take a look at this entity because this is a bit weird. So was it text bubble character name? And let me open my dev tool. So this is what I've got as a private set of development tools that allows me to check the graph at runtime. And I want to know what this text bubble thing is. So root, scene, there we go. Middle background, dialog box, main character. So it's got a sprite. Oh, okay. So it looks like the sprite is the. Okay, so this is what I think of. The sprite is the blue box that is rendered, and the element is the text. When and I think it's just when it's enabled and disabled, the order gets changed on how it renders on the same element. We can check this on what layers is it on. All right, let's go into scene 1 and take another look. Let me duplicate this tab. I think it's just like one of those things that is undefined about what order things render in. Okay, so dialogue. So this is main scene. Character buttons, dialogue, main character. Okay, so this is what's going on. This is rendering on the world, and that is rendering on the world. So yeah, what is probably happening is, honestly, it's just rendering in a random order. So for whatever reason, the second time it's used, the sprite is rendered on top of the text, and it's maybe Z-Viting. It could be some weird quirk of the engine. But what really we should do here is change this so that there's two elements to this. There's so you have the text bubble for the main character will be a group element that has a text and a text and an image element entities that we changed on top. So let's do that now, and let's just make it work for the in this particular scene. So how can I do this? Right, new entity. We want the image group, so we want the bubble background. This is the background, and we want the text on top of that. So sprite. No, text is fine. That's fine. That's fine. So actually, you want let me copy that. Copy the component and copy value on it to make sure that is correct. Paste. Clear. Okay, let's enable it too briefly so I can see what's going on. Okie doke. And change this to be a group. It's fine. Get rid of the sprites. Actually, let's find out what that is. Okay, that's fine. So it's text bubble. Let's delete that. And we want a sprite texture, which is text bubble. Perfect. And what we're going to do is replicate that on BubbleDog 2, just to make sure we're doing this right. So remove, delete. Oh, sorry, I didn't need that. I need to change that to. Let me undo that. I don't want to delete it. I want that as an image group, and delete this one. And then disable both. And then dialog manager. Well, text bubble, that's fine. Text bubble entity. That's all fine. Okay, and here, what we're going to do here is enable true. That's okay. And we're going to have bar background. See, which equals textbubble.entity.find by name. And what did you call it again? Oops. Shouldn't have closed it. There we go. Background. We call it background. So now the code's still doing the same thing, where it's finding this entity in the scene, and then in the code, what we're doing here to get the children elements, which is the background and the text, is we're going to do find by name on the entity that it finds in the scene. So we're doing find by name on this entity. That way we reduce the scope of the search down to all its children effectively, which is quite handy. And this effectively helps you allow you to use duplicate entity names. You don't have to find it by the root, and it's also a lot faster because now you're only searching the children rather than the entire scene. So we also want the text entity equals text bubble.entity.find by name and text. Perfect. And now we can do the rest of it. So text entity equals yep. That's fine. That's a root. That's a group. Let's undo this. And for this, we want to change this to the background entity. And there's also the element, not the sprite. We might have text bubble entity. Okay, yep. So that's going to get the width of the text. Okay, so it's basically matching the background entity to the background entity width and height to the background entity width and height of the text element to this. And we just make sure we do that right. There's probably some scale involved here. Oh, what was it before? Nuts. So let me just check the changes. I can't remember what the values were before for things like height, font size, etc. Font group deleted. Yep. Array size. Yeah. It doesn't tell me. Nuts. But I did copy and paste it, so that's not too bad. So we'll go back to here. Height. Is this on the screen? Oh, it's on the screen. Oh, that's interesting. Why is it rendered on the world then? Okay. Let's assume they still want it on the world. So everything's rendered on the world. Odd that they're using it's a 3D screen space. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So they're using a 3D screen rather than screen space one, and that means that these numbers are fine then, because we're in the screen space, therefore the width and height aren't using real world units. Okay, cool. In which case, I think let's try running that and see what happens. Okay, position completely off. What was it before? Where is the previous version of this? Let's get this in the right place. So it's on top. So the text bubble's in the right place, but the font is. I think that's because I copied the position stuff on that. So let's go back to, where's that gone? Let's go back to here, where in the scene, back in scene 1 again. And the text is in the wrong place. That's because the text position is all the way over. Where's the background position? Okay, yep. That's no problem. We just change that to 0, 0, 0. And let's just double check that is correct. There you go. Okay, so they're both in the same thing. Okay, so this is where I am also still worried about the render order. Because it's in world space. Or at least it's on a layer that is sorted by the Z distance from the camera. So there's still possibility of them Z fighting here. And there's a couple ways we can get around this. One is either to change this to be on a layer that is above the world, rather than front, so that's UI, and then that way, and also that the rendering order is manual, so it's defined by the hierarchy order in the screen. Or we can do the slightly easier thing, which is just move this slightly in front on the z-axis, so like minus, oh, that's scale, not position. So we can move this slightly in front of the dialog box, so we know the dialog box will render first, and then the text in front of it all the time. Did I move it backwards or forwards? I can't remember which way Z. So, okay, so cool. So let's move this like 1 centimeter or 1 unit forward, effectively. Let's move that 1 unit forward. Okay, cool. And let's run that now. Click. Okay, we'll wait for the fade. So this is text for the main character, scene 1. There we go. Sorted. Although that did look like a different size. That's not full. Okay, so that's what. So okay, so I think someone's editing the code in the background while I'm running this. So that big? So I'm trying to compare how big the old one was. No, that's the same size. Okay, so they're both the same size. It's great. Okay, we're good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, cool. Just recap. What we've done here is, if we're both the right scene, is rather than having a sprite and a text element on the same entity, which caused issues in rendering order when it was done again, when it was enabled and re-enabled, because the order is not defined in that case, we've changed it so it's pure UI elements. Because especially we're under screen, under a UI screen, then really everything under this should be an element, not sprites. So and now that we've done that, we've grouped the two elements together. So we've got a group for the entire dialog box, and as children we've got the background, which is the blue square, as you can see there, and we also got the text that is positioned slightly in front of it because we're rendering all this on the world layer for some reason. I don't know what the reason is. Generally I would put this on screen space in the UI layer, but I'm sure the user has their own reason for it to be on the world layer. And because of that, we had to move the text slightly towards the camera a little bit to ensure that it's all rendered in front of the dialog box. And in code, we just adapted to that fact. So this is the text bubble entity is now the entire group. We get the background and text entity from that by using find by name on that entity, and then effectively just refactored the rest of the code to match. We also made some slight changes here where we've ensured that we're not using global variables, we're using locally scoped variables, function scoped variables at least, and that is it. So I'm going to save this. Say fixed bug. Let me move my mark out of the way. Fixed bug for scene one specifically, because there's going to be other scenes with dialogues that they're going to need to follow up on. I think there was like 3 scenes, but that's up to them to handle. We're not going to do that for them. Cool. In that case, we're going to send this off to the original poster, and that'll be it. Hopefully that will sort out all their problems going forward, and they'll be able to move on. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.